Hello everyone, my name is Lowko and welcome back to a professional match of StarCraft 2. Now what I've got for you today is supposed to be an amazing game of Terran versus Protoss that was recently played during the grand finals of the ESL Open Cup at 170 for the North American region. And this is a game between some of my favorite North American players, because first off, in the top left-hand corner, playing right here with the blue Terran SCVs from the beautiful state of South Korea, we're looking inside of the main base of ByuN, and his opponent from Denmark with the red Protoss pieces. He goes by the name of MaxPax. Now, in case you're unfamiliar, the ESL Open Cups, they just determine what server the games are going to be played on. So we've got a European edition every week, a North American one, as well as an Asian one, and everybody around the world can sign up. You just have a bit of a ping disadvantage. Now, it turns out ByuN and MaxPax were pretty dang good that day, so apparently they made it to the grand finals. And interestingly enough, they're playing these games on the North American server for sure. It's, yeah, I guess an equally bad situation for the both of them, at the very least as far as the game delay and the game ping goes, which is kind of funny. Anyways, so a double barracks proxy right here to start things off. MaxPax has decided to go for a probe scout. Of course, that's very helpful. The problem is, even if you see the lack of barracks right over here on the high ground, it doesn't really tell you all too much. The only requirement to go for a factory is that you have to have a barracks out there somewhere. So it doesn't really matter where ByuN has planted this. Oftentimes though, yeah, what Protoss players do, what Protoss players usually do is start up a Zealot, and then if they scout the barracks regardless, they will cancel the Zealot here eventually. At this point, MaxPax hasn't seen anything yet, I don't think. He's very close to scouting those SCVs, and now the Nexus comes up. That SCV movement right there, by the way, not an coincidence right there from ByuN whatsoever. He knows the exact timing at which this Nexus does go down, and that's exactly what he's hoping for. Luckily, though, for MaxPax, he did start up the Zealot. He did not cancel it again, so he should be able to, well, start contesting this reasonably nicely. The probes at this point, they're out for blood. Good target firing right there by ByuN. One of the probes does get microed back. Okay, SCV that was building the bunker also gets shut down, and that's super important. Low HP probes right here brought to the back. That's... ooh. I thought that was gonna be another kill, but no, that one does stay alive. Stalker, okay, Stalker at this point is available too, so that's super critical here to pick off that other SCV that's now also building that bunker. Well, at least it was. When I started that sentence anyways. This is not entirely defended just yet though. Yeah, no, additional probes are gonna have to be pulled. And this may actually do more damage than the initial push. Now that the Marines are sort of clumped up, it's difficult to get surface area. Good stutter step here as well by ByuN. Target firing down the low HP units. Don't lose the Stalker. He does lose the Stalker as well. Okay. So, the bunker got shut down. 2 SCVs got killed as well, but now 9 probes have gone down in total. Plus that Stalker. That Stalker actually kind of sucks. Because normally, as soon as this gets shut down, which usually happens eventually, it just depends how many workers Protoss will end up... Protoss? How many probes? How many workers Protoss will end up losing? And then you want to counterattack with the Stalker, right? Killing, well, stuff with Stalkers here is very nice. One barracks is going to be flying back home. The other one is going to be scouting the main base of our Protoss player. Okay. There is a Widow Mine coming up. He is gonna have to be careful though. Oh, really lovely play right here from ByuN, as he does get the Stalker there too. Okay, so everything went pretty dang good right there for our Terran player. That being said, it's really easy in a game like this to overestimate your advantage as well, because sure, you've killed a lot of workers, but already we're at 21 probes, 22 probes right now here for MaxPax, since he's got that second Nexus done. As long as MaxPax stays on top of the chrono boost and he just continuously boosts out 2 of those probes at once, I think he should be okay. Yeah. Command Center is gonna finish eventually inside of the main base of ByuN. But, yeah. It's a good early game, don't get me wrong, but it's certainly not the type of early game that can just straight up lead to a win. Killing those Stalkers down, killing that Zealot, that is really quite nice. Yeah. Okay. Now this does become a very awkward game, right? Because all of the timings are completely thrown out of the window. All the timings that you're used to, like for example, if you want to go... okay, yeah. For example, if you want to go Phoenixes into Colossi, how is that going to line up? In a normal game, when everybody is starting off with a normal strategy, right? What we consider at least to be normal in StarCraft 2, you know that you have time to go from Phoenixes into Colossi. But how exactly does that work out in a game like this? Here's the Widow Mine drop coming in. ByuN hoping for, well, that ping situation to help him out quite nicely here. But very lovely splits there. Maybe the third Widow Mine here is going to get something done. Good liftoff as well. The Stalker should be able to figure this all out. Oracle is coming up on the back of this. And he's gonna need it as well. I actually really like that from ByuN. ByuN realized at this point it's a starport opener, or a Stargate opener rather. So he knows that his opponent is gonna need revelations. Yeah, so instead he decides to move them in such a position that I think it's gonna, well, it's gonna require 2 revelations to see these bad boys, which is kind of nice. Yeah. Maybe he could have gotten it though, I'm not sure. If he would have done it in the middle, would that have been in range? I guess then you run the risk of not revealing anything, and that could be a problem as well. Anyhow, a little bit of shenanigans here in the earlier stages of the game from ByuN. In the end, sure, he's killed a lot of workers, but it also has hurt his own economy quite a bit. But at the very least, it put him in the driver's seat. Right now, the Phoenixes will start roaming the map, and I like Phoenixes here a lot. Primarily because, well, MaxPax has been under a lot of pressure here for a while. This is the type of stuff that allows you to breathe, right? When you've been under pressure the entire time, and even though the top-level pro gamers, they're very good at defending. Yeah, when you're under pressure the entire time, it's kind of nice to take control of the game, even if it's only for a little while. Generally speaking, the next attack from Terran is going to be when the +1 infantry, the stim pack, and the combat shield upgrades finish up. Both of those, or all 3 of those, will finish up in about a minute, maybe a minute and a half or so. But when Phoenixes are roaming the map, it's really quite difficult to go for a reliable move out. Those Phoenixes, they can lift up your SCVs and then still get back home as well to defend. All at the same time. Ooh, there's the... oh god, the Raven. Losing the Raven would suck. Yeah, he does get the Raven. The repair right there is nice, I suppose, but not quite sufficient. And that is a really good pickup right there for MaxPax. That's the kind of stuff he needs here. Robo Bay, as well as a third Nexus, now coming up for our Protoss player. One Immortal getting chronoed out, but I'm assuming it's going to be followed up with a Colossus here. Yep, there it is. The big boy is going to be coming out, and that's exactly what these Phoenixes have been tasked with, okay? They're just here to buy time until the big boys are out, until the big boy lasers hit the battlefield. Okay. Impressive game so far, actually, here from MaxPax, though. So, I've said this many times before in the past, but MaxPax, he's now considered to be the strongest Protoss player from the European region. And honestly, he's a... I would go as far as to say he's like a top 3, maybe top 5 Protoss player in the world. The thing about MaxPax is that he does not play offline tournaments. I don't think he's ever stated why he doesn't play offline tournaments. This is one of the things that bothers me a lot. I mean, obviously, I respect his decision to not do it, but it would be so fun to see, you know, a world-class Protoss player winning games in premier tournaments, right? So you always have to put a little asterisk right next to it, you know, his statistics, because sure, he's very good on a League elect, sure, he does very good in the ranking, sure, he beats the best players in the world, but he hasn't won a premier tournament. It'd be so sick. Stasis Ward right over there, slowing everything down a little bit as well, as ByuN is now making himself up for an attack. Now, that Stasis Ward, it's gonna buy a lot of time, yeah. Look at that Marauder as well, pretending to be Stasist. He just wants to be part of the Cool Kids Club right over here. Turns out he isn't. Anyways, ByuN is going to use a little bit of time right here to go after the rocks in this area. He sees... no, he doesn't see the pylon. I thought maybe he assumed that the pylon here indicated that there would be a Nexus there. Love that little move actually from MaxPax. But right now, yeah, at the very least at this point, he realizes, no, the Nexus has been taken on the other side. One Phoenix does end up going down here, but this has bought so much time. Extended Thermal Lens is going to finish up here in about 10 seconds. Third Colossus just about... a third of the way done as well. Maybe not that amazing. Maybe we're gonna lose a gateway, maybe we're gonna lose a cybercore here, but this is the type of stuff that MaxPax will be more than happy to lose. As he knows at this point, he's already getting his next tech structure here. Yeah, Forge and Twilight Council going down. He knows that he should have all of the tools at his disposal now to defend whatever push the Terran player is going for. I mean, this is still a scary army though, man. I'm not entirely sure if I share MaxPax's confidence. Good force fields. Flawless force fields there. I mean, a couple units are trickling through, but that's exactly what he needs. Zealots don't have charge or anything like that yet. Okay. Okay, that battery overcharge helping out quite a bit. For the next wave here of Terran units, I don't think he's gonna have battery overcharge, because that's gonna be on cooldown for another little while. Yeah, MaxPax has become so good at the game, man. Like, it's... Okay, it's one thing to be good at the game by tricking your opponents and cheesing them, right? That's what we used to see back in the day whenever new players came up. They would, like, show up in StarCraft 2, they would win games off of the best players in the world, but it was always a little bit cheesy. MaxPax doesn't play that way at all. Like, he has been basically the defender the entire game long, and he's easily going toe-to-toe right here with ByuN. Right? And it's just... As a fan of StarCraft 2, it bothers me a little bit that, yeah, MaxPax doesn't play offline events, but maybe one day we'll get the reason why. The worst part about it all is that basically every pro gamer out there, right? Every StarCraft 2 pro gamer, as we do have a medevac drop, I'll actually continue that line of thought here in a moment, as ByuN is gonna go after the Nexus here. Does force the cancel, fair enough. He's also moving right here with the majority of his army. Okay, he may be thinking about setting up a large concave here. The Phoenix count is rather big, but so is the Colossus count. We're already up to 4 Colossi. That is quite a lot. Ghosts are being added into the mix. They're gonna be fantastic against both Archons, as well as, of course, charge slots. Neither of them are out yet, but they will be coming. There we go. Yeah, so basically all pro gamers, right, throughout the year, they earn points by playing in all of these tournaments to qualify themselves for the StarCraft 2 World Championships that take place once a year. And usually that prize pool is absolutely massive. All pro gamers out there have basically one goal, and that's to qualify for the World Championships. Now, MaxPax has qualified several times, and then he didn't play. He did not play. And he's qualified playing the small online cups, right? You obviously earn points as well winning the big tournaments over the year. Okay, but anyways. The snipe right there on the Prism is very nice, but there's still a ton of Protoss units right here on the back of this. Good movement right there on the Archons as well. They're buying so much time, even with the EMPs, and even though there's a lot of Marauders shooting away at them, they're buying so much time for those Colossi to just continuously shoot lasers. That was an excellent engagement right there for MaxPax. He still lost more than his opponent in this game, but he's also got a pretty stellar eco. Now, that Nexus, though, getting denied there does kind of suck. At this point, ByuN is the one who's leading the economy game. And that is a situation you always want to be in as a Terran player. Really lovely work there. Generally speaking, in this matchup, the Protoss players expend faster. Zealot getting targeted right there, man. He had to step on the mine, and then he got killed by the lasers. Poor guy. Anyways, the splash damage of the Colossi allowing him to snipe that one Widow Mine over there too. But yeah, normally in this matchup, it's the Protoss player that's a base ahead on the Terran. And MaxPax, well, he's now a base behind. So I think that may very well trigger him to go for a bit of a move out. He does have a Prism, but that one gets spotted right here at the northern section of the map. And these Vikings are going to be able to shut that down easy peasy. So that means no reinforcements. Couple Marines here, somehow, some way on the control group with the rest of the army. They ended up going down quite easily. Yeah, pushing into a Terran player is kind of scary, right? Giving them the initiative is usually not what you're aiming for here. That Observer, okay, in a good position. At least he sees that the Terran's once again moving out. You preferably get to jump on that Terran army here if you're MaxPax. He's gonna go for a second Robo facility, as well as that Disruptor production. So that's gonna be the second source of splash damage. I guess the Archons are technically a source of splash damage too, but the Colossi bundled together with these Disruptors is, yeah, it's very strong. It's very nice. Okay, little Zealot run by over here does come up. He's microing the Zealots back, trying to keep him alive. Okay, ends up working as well. 5 SCVs, not bad. But my main concern here is the amount of economy that Terran has here in general, right? So the 4th base is gonna finish up for MaxPax, but normally Protoss is supposed to be a little bit ahead in that department right now. This isn't even ByuN dedicating all of his orbital command energy to mules yet, right? He could definitely do that if he wants to. He doesn't really need it, though. There's a Purification Nova, okay, grabbing quite a few of those Marauders, not bad at all. Zealots have decided to come back in. That's those Zealots from earlier. Okay, there's another Purification Nova, grabbing once again a Ghost or two, not bad. But there's not a lot of anti-air. Yeah, there's 8 Stalkers available, quite a few Vikings up in the air too. Those Vikings are trying to work on taking down all of the Phoenixes as well as the Colossi. Still though, this is a lot of splash damage that these Colossi are dealing for the time being. And even though they may get picked off eventually, they're still up right now and they are still dealing damage. 12, 10, and 7 kills, each of them right now. That is pretty good. Terran's gonna continue onwards here as well with the 3-3 research. He's added on additional production here too, so ByuN is really putting his foot on the gas right now. Yeah, he's got 8 barracks. That is a ton of production. He's going to be able to get a ton of units out onto the battlefield. Okay. MaxPax trying to bowl down a couple of these units, but he's desperately trying to secure more and more of these bases, right? But he's been struggling in that department. The 3rd base went up smoothly, but the 4th and the 5th, they have not been nearly as confident. Terran constantly trying to cut him off. One thing to note, of course, is that ByuN can always fly that main command center of his towards the 5th base location. So the main base is going to be running very low at this point in the game, and he, well, can fly that one over here. Oftentimes in the Terran versus Zerg matchup, the Terran players want to go for mass command center, but in this matchup, not really a great option. As we do once again have a large drop right here inside of the main base of our Protoss player. Trying to maximize the damage right here. This is always a bit of a risky move though. I'm never a huge fan of this, but this is something that ByuN does time and time again. He's also moving right here with a large army. Zealot once again moving in as well. It's just so risky, right? Because if you end up losing 3 medevacs full of units... that does even up the supply count. This little move over here, though, is nice because he just killed his opponent's 5th base for, like, the 7th time, which is nice. But at the same time, 14 SCVs have found their grave as well in the meantime on the other side. So losing those SCVs there does hinder the production of the Terran player just a bit. And honestly, I don't think I like that decision-making all too much right there for ByuN. Although if you can get these Colossi, that would justify quite a bit. Yeah. That Doom drop in the main base... So it creates chaos, so you can snipe this base down south. But I love the fact that during all of that, MaxPax still had the headspace to send in a bunch of Zealots as well towards the other side of the map. Those Zealots actually, I think, mostly justified that aggression right there, or at least the loss of the 5th base. Once again though, yeah, this is a big concave right here for ByuN. We do have Zealots moving in towards the 3rd base. There are Widow Mines over there. They did snipe a couple of the Zealots as they came in. But this is now MaxPax, yeah, realizing, yo, you know what? I have got a whole lot of army supply right now. I can start bowling at all of my opponent's Terran units as well. And when Marines and Marauders are running, they're not dealing any damage. There's a snipe as well on one of those ghosts once again. And all of a sudden, it's MaxPax who is going on the full offensive here. And he's actually doing so incredibly well. He's been on the back foot for a long time. Now a couple disruptors do get misrallied. That is a little unfortunate. He's been on the back foot for basically the entire game, but you only need one moment. Good pickup right there, though, by ByuN, trying to make sure that he doesn't lose the Marines and the Marauders. Zealots coming in from the back as well. They were reinforcing, I guess, all the way from the 4th base of the Protoss. Takes them a while to get across the map, but the SCVs are falling left, right, and center. We haven't even really seen a move towards the left side of the map. Probably because MaxPax, well, he probably assumes that that is going to be a planetary fortress, so he's not even bothering with it. But 23 have just gone down to Widow Mines, dealing damage right there to the Terran army as well. There's a Dutch saying that goes, if you give him a finger, he'll grab your hand. It's a good example right there. I don't know if there's an English equivalent. Maybe that is the English equivalent. I'm not sure. Anyways, that's a good example right there. MaxPax just got a tiny little advantage. A small little advantage, right? He realized, okay, you know what? I've just cleaned up my opponent's medevacs in the main base. Sure, I've canceled my expansion time and time again, but I've also killed a lot of SCVs. I'm going to try and see if I can just, well, go and fight. Only 33 workers remain right now for ByuN, but he does have a superior army supply count. 66 versus 54. These Marauders, they still pack a punch. We're at 3-3 upgrades right here for the Terran versus 3-1 right here for the Protoss. But of course, the Disruptors, they don't really care. Then again, this is ByuN. ByuN's very good at pulling rabbits out of hats, and he's very good when it comes to microing these bio units. But he needs to be very cautious. Whenever you're pushing up towards a high ground, I mean, the scan can kind of nullify that, I suppose, but you're always going through a choke point, and that's exactly where MaxPax wants to defend. Once again, we're rolling the balls. Yep. I wouldn't mind seeing a return to Colossi at this point. We don't really have a whole lot. Not a whole lot of anti-air. I guess we're very Marauder heavy, so maybe it's not ideal, but it would be kind of nice to see. Those Zealots, once again, dealing a lot of damage. MaxPax going on the offensive, trying to roll the balls. This is the Terran player, though, coming in from, like, every single angle. This is, yeah, better than a concave. This is essentially a circle, which I guess is just a concave extended. But anyways, 10 SCVs do go down here in the meantime, man. Those Zealot run-bys have been absolutely lethal. They've been doing so much damage. One thing that MaxPax does, and this seems so logical, none of the other pro gamers really seem to do this, though. he saves his Zealots. I'm fairly sure the way that Protoss players normally do Zealot run-bys is they warp into Zealots, then they queue up attack moves on the minimap, and they don't look at those Zealots ever again. But MaxPax actually cares for his Zealots, which allows them to go back in. Yeah. They allow them to, or that allows them to continuously, well, put pressure on the Terran player. Once again, look, he's sending them back. He will go back in for a little bit more later on. MaxPax trying to deflect this army right over here at the bottom of the map as well. Oh, careful, ByuN. That could have been a disaster. Honestly, this is already a bit of a disaster. There's another big warp in right over here, and 9 Zealots are going to be joining the main battle right now. SCVs are once again falling at the 3rd base location as well. Still, without splash damage, though, it's really difficult to clean up a maxed out bio ball like that. So you do really rely on those disruptors to at the very least cause chaos, right? To at the very least make sure that the Terran army is running and not firing. Okay, these Zealots are gonna get cleaned up. 6 Nexus though was just now acquired, and that's a beautiful location for those probes from the previous 3rd base to go all the way down south. ByuN still has 4 orbital commands, or, well, actually, how many orbital commands does he have at this point? No, he's only got 2. He's ended up losing quite a few of them in the midst of all that chaos, but he does have a very large army still. He's still facing off against a Protoss player that has less army supply than he does at this point. Colossus has indeed rejoined the battlefield, which I really do like, but needs to be so careful. No battery overcharge in this area, no shield batteries anymore. Okay, 1 Marauder at a time. It's not great, but it's better than nothing. Once again, Zealots in the natural, though. Zealots in the natural are dealing so much damage. And those Colossi, man, they are putting in the work once again. Now that all of the Vikings have gone down... Another Stimpack. That's a really dangerous Stimpack. But now that the Vikings have gone down, these Colossi are super scary. Zealots are picking off reinforcements. And despite the fact that MaxPax was behind for like the first 80% of this game... okay, maybe that's a bit of an exaggeration. Maybe not quite 80%. But he certainly was behind in the earlier stages of this match. It is him who obtains the victory in this game, and with that, he wins the series. And that means he's the winner of the ESL Open Cup 170 for the North American region.